Indigenous Rights Radio, because knowledge is power.
The International Day of Forests 2024 is commemorated on March 21st, and its theme, Forests and Innovation, New Solutions for a Better World, is a call to action for all of us to work together to protect our precious forests. Innovative solutions are crucial to ensuring that forests continue to thrive and provide us with a host of benefits, from clean air to biodiversity. It is important that we join the movement to make a positive impact on our planet and create a better world for ourselves and future generations. The preservation of forests is a crucial aspect that requires the adoption of new technological advancements. Currently, about 10 million hectares of forest are lost annually due to deforestation, while around 70 million hectares are affected by fires. Hence, the adoption of innovative technologies is critical to enhance early warning systems, promote sustainable commodity production, and empower Indigenous peoples through land mapping and climate finance access. Restoring ecosystems can promote sustainable wood products, enhance food security, and contribute to climate mitigation. Protecting our forests is crucial to meeting our global goals for 2030. By reducing deforestation, preventing forest degradation, and implementing sustainable forest management practices, we can ensure a healthier planet for generations to come. A collective approach is needed to make a positive impact on our environment and secure a better future for all. Now, according to Guardian.com, quote, "The embattled indigenous peoples of Latin America are by far the best guardians of the region's forests, according to a UN report, with deforestation rates up to 50% lower in their territories than anywhere else. Protecting the vast forests is vital to tackling the climate crisis and plummeting populations of wildlife, and the report found that recognizing the rights of indigenous and tribal peoples to their land is one of the most cost-effective actions." The report also calls for the peoples to be paid for their environmental benefits and for funding for the revitalization of their ancestral knowledge of living in harmony with nature. End quote. Latin America is one of the most dangerous regions to be an indigenous rights and environmental defender. 3 out of 4 assassinations of environmental defenders take place in Latin America. Indigenous defenders face a double threat: defending rights and being indigenous. In 2021, roughly 40% of murdered environmental defenders were indigenous, a disproportionately high figure given that indigenous peoples comprise roughly 6% of the global population. As part of our advocacy program, Cultural Survival tracks violence against indigenous defenders in an effort to draw connections amongst these cases and demonstrate that this crisis, rather than being a set of unconnected attacks on individual people, is systemic. We do this work in order to raise awareness about the systemic persecution of indigenous defenders, but also for the sake of memory. The indigenous defenders who were killed throughout 2023 will never be forgotten by their families and communities. The gap they leave in their communities and cultures cannot be filled, and this gap is equally important outside of their communities. These defenders are people defending our planet from environmental collapse and keeping alive critical knowledge on how to protect our ecosystems and how to relate to one another. Sometimes the news of murder or attacks on indigenous people spreads in specific communities and territories where the pain and loss is felt profoundly, but it does not always echo in mainstream media. Cultural Survival's compilation of cases is not exhaustive. Our information comes both from other media and from communities and partner organizations. However, we cannot cover the full scope, and there are certainly cases that do not reach us. Although those people are not specifically named in this memoriam, this in no way implies less severity or importance. This work also aims to honor all those who, for a variety of reasons we could not mention, and whose struggles will continue to resonate in their communities, their territories, and their families. The ways in which we receive information about these cases varies. In some cases, there are plenty of news articles and calls for justice. In other cases, information is extremely scarce, or even just a brief message or press release passed to us by a partner on the ground. Our purpose is to make all names and legacies known, regardless of how much attention the case received, especially uplifting those less covered by the media. When we were informed of otherwise unpublished cases by community partners, we ensured that it was safe to publish, always obtaining the community's consent. Every individual was a beloved person, a community and family member, and someone who is mourned for not only the work they did, but for who they were. For most cases, a few months after the murder, impunity reigns. In some Latin American countries, the general impunity rate is 90% more, meaning 10 crimes or fewer out of 100 are properly investigated and solved by the justice system. These figures are optimistic in comparison to crimes against Indigenous defenders. Authorities tend to not put that much effort into thorough investigations related to Indigenous defenders for a variety of reasons. Incidents take place in remote locations with limited access, collusion of authorities with illegal armed actors or multinational companies, and a general lack of interest in problems concerning Indigenous peoples intrinsic to state discrimination towards them. Mary Lawler, Special Rapporteur on the Situation on Human Rights Defenders, has said that impunity for killings is a key driver for more murders. We remember and mourn 77 Indigenous people who were killed in 2023. We also recognize and condemn attacks, disappearances, criminalization, and other forms of violence committed against Indigenous defenders worldwide. We acknowledge that our scope is limited and that violence against Indigenous peoples and against particular defenders of rights far surpasses the data that we were able to collect, and we honor all of the peoples and communities who have been affected.
In Brazil, Nahuir Brito de Jesus, Samuel Cristiano de Amor Divino, José Ignacio Guajajara, Valdemar Marciano Guajajara, Joné Canaré Guajajara, Ilson Shiriana, Venancio Shiriana. En Colombia, José Taicús Pascal, Bernan Astascuas Bay, Marcos López Enríquez, Marlon Hernando García Pascal, Wilson Bomba Piamba, Albert Camilo Mendoza Corso, Diego Jair Orbes, Marlene Huehue, José Isaías Kiwanás, Maricruz Petro, William Vargas, Livia Kiwanás, Telésforo Ipia, Marcelino Dagua Baicue, Rosalía Kiwanás Dagua, Alexander Chocue Peña, José Hernán Tenorio Mestizo, Albán Mestizo Yosando, Johnny Sorfelio García, Ever Gamboa, Alex Germán García Guanga, Tiberio Che Pesetti, Yesid Pechené Musicue, Freddy Alexander Bomba Campo, Benito II Castillo Gutiérrez, Eduardo Timaná, José Arley Cruz Chocue, Milton Santa Cruz Aguilar, Cristóbal Nastacuás, Juan David Chávez Joino, Rogelio Chate Peña, Fanor Guasaquillo Peña, Marino Paví Julicue, John Freyman Ramos Ocaña, Giselle Mensa, Helen Charit Ramos Mensa, Davinson Fernández Ramos, Jesús David Labio Ramos, Eliezer Puyo Chocue. En Ecuador, Eduardo Mendúa. En Guatemala, Nicolasa López, Victoria Méndez, Noé Gómez Barrera. En Honduras, Ricardo Arnaúl Montero, Amílcar Vieda, Naún Ismael Chacón, Martín Morales Martínez, Juana María Martínez. En México, Remigio de la Cruz López y Saúl Nemesio Zambrano, Miguel Estrada Reyes, Rolando Magno Zambrano, Alfredo Cisneros, Eustacio Alcalá, Félix Vicente Cruz, Gertrudis Cruz de Jesús, Glicerina Cruz Merino, Noel López Gallegos, Lorenzo Froilán de la Cruz Ríos, Higinio Trinidad de la Cruz. En Nicaragua, Yasmín Jacobo Lázaro, Lenin Vilches Patrón Flores, Alberto Castillo Palacio, Jorge Henor Palacio, Morgan Díaz Palacio, Bernabé Palacios Hernández. En Paraguay, Arnaldo Benítez Vargas. En Perú, Santiago Contoricón Antunes, Quinto Inuma Alvarado, and Benjamín Flores Ríos. We commit to continuing to work towards justice for Indigenous land and right defenders alongside the affected communities to the extent that we are able. Defenders above are listed by country in alphabetical order, then chronologically by date of the incident.
For more on the rights of Indigenous peoples, visit cs.org and follow Cultural Survival on Facebook and Twitter.